Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 1, Questions by the Sages, text 6. Rishaya Uchu Tvaya Kalu Puranani Seti Hasani Chanaka Atyatanya Pyatani Dharma Sastrani Anyuta Tvaya Kalu Puranani Seti Hasani Chanaka Atyatanya Pyatani Dharma Sastrani Anyuta Tvaya Kalu Puranani Seti Hasani Chanaka Atyatanya Pyaditani Dharma Sastrani Anyuta Vice duties. Rishaya, the sages, Uchu said, Tvaya, by you, Kalu, undoubtedly, Puranani, the supplements to the Vedas, with illustrative narrations, Saitihasani, along with the histories, Cha, and Anaka, free from all vices, Atyatani, explained, Api, although, Adittani, well read, Dharma Shastrani, scriptures giving right directions to progressive life. Jnani, all these, Buddha said. Translation. The sages said, respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures, famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and the histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. Purport. A Goswami, or the bona fide representative of Sri Vyasadeva, must be free from all kinds of vices. The four major vices of Kali Yuga are illicit connection with women, animal slaughter, intoxication, speculative gambling of all sorts. A Goswami must be free from all these vices before he can dare sit on the Vyasasana. No one should be allowed to sit on the Vyasasana who is not spotless in character and who is not free from the above-mentioned vices. He not only should be free from all such vices, but must be well-versed in all revealed scriptures or in the Vedas. The Puranas are also parts of the Vedas, and histories like the Mahabharata or Ramayana are also parts of the Vedas. The Acharya or the Goswami must be well acquainted with all these literatures. To hear and explain them is more important than reading them. One can assimilate the knowledge of the revealed scriptures only by hearing and explaining. Hearing is called Shravana, and explaining is called Kirtana. The two processes of Shravana and Kirtana are of primary importance for progressive spiritual life. Only one who has properly grasped the transcendental knowledge from the right source by submissive hearing can properly explain the subject. Translation again. The sages said, respected Sutta Goswami, you are completely free from all vice. You are well versed in all the scriptures, famous for religious life, and in the Puranas and the histories as well, for you have gone through them under proper guidance and have also explained them. Om Agyanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As you know, Naimisaranya is still there today, but this section of Bhagavatam is taking you back thousands of years. To the Naimisaranya, the forest where the sages have gathered to perform a yajna, a sacrifice for the well-being of all human beings. We have this opportunity also to create a spot which will benefit all human beings. According to the quality of the devotees, that will determine how spiritually attractive the place is. At Naimisaranya, you have gathered the sages led by Shonaka Rishi, and they're questioning Sutta Goswami. First of all, because Sutta Goswami was in the audience when Shukadeva Goswami explained Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj. So you see, in case you haven't noticed, Srimad Bhagavatam contains nested dialogues, one dialogue nested in another. You can definitely say one discussion of saintly persons, the topmost saintly persons, nested into another discussion between topmost saintly persons. So this is how Bhagavatam fully immerses you in Krishna consciousness. The Shastras explain that Naimisha, or Naimisaranya, the forest of Naimisha, is a favorite place of Lord Vishnu. Those ruined by impersonalist thinking have a difficult time understanding how Vishnu is non-material and Vishnu has preferences in terms of places, persons, activities. Sometimes we think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has come to this world, Prityanaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Tradishkatam, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants. But no, that's a secondary purpose. The real reason why the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears is to display his pastimes. Personalism. And Krishna knows that by displaying his pastimes, conditioned souls can be attracted for reviving their dormant love. I was listening to Srila Prabhupada explain how originally everyone is Nityasiddha, but some of the original Nityasiddhas have become conditioned souls. So therefore, what the sages at Naimisaranya are doing is discussing the process that will work even in this age of Kali, so that conditioned souls can once again become Nityasiddha, eternally perfect. So it might strike you as a curiosity that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has favorite places. But we are tiny particles of the Supreme and we have favorite places. That's part of personalism. We have favorite people, favorite places, favorite activities. Why do we deny this in the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Especially, why do we deny the unparalleled qualities and activities, forms and names of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Why do we dare to consider all that to be the same as the name, form, qualities, and pastimes of a mundane material personality? This is why Krishna protests in Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti mam mudha. Fools think that I'm an ordinary person. That Krishna has a narrow lila, human pastimes, doesn't mean he's a human being. He looks like a human being, but he is not a human being. In Braj Lila, Krishna is very careful to maintain his human-like profile. Just like when he kills Putana, he does it in a way that doesn't disturb Mother Yashoda and the other residents of Vrindavan by overpowering them with his ice fire, with his opulence. That overpowering by ice fire is meant more for Dwarka and especially meant for Vaikuntha. But in Goloka Vrindavan, or in his Gokul abode, Krishna is very careful to do his wonders in such a way that sweetness always predominates. The Madhuryamrita especially. So when he killed Putana, he didn't do it in a way that would disturb Mother Yashoda and the elder gopis. He sucked her breast, but his sucking was quite different from an ordinary child sucking. He sucked out her life force. And simultaneously, He was squeezing her breast with his hands and kicking her chest with his little feet. She had dared to approach Krishna to kill him. And by the arrangement of Yoga Maya, Mother Yashoda and Rohini Devi said, just step right in, enter the home. This puzzled, later you'll find out, this puzzled Nanda Maharaj so much. When he came back from Mathura, remember what happened in Mathura right before Nanda Maharaj's departure? Vasudeva warned him, I think you should hurry back because there could be some major disturbances. He wanted Nanda Maharaj to get going. For that reason, he predicted, Vasudeva predicted major disturbances. And number two, the Acharyas point out that Vasudeva was concerned about the envy of Kamsa, because Nanda Maharaj was known to be a very prosperous Vaishya, and Kamsa is known to be a very envious person. So, because of the wealth of Nanda Maharaj, Vasudeva was concerned that you stick around here in Mathura too long and Kamsa could make problems for you, trying to confiscate everything you have. But the main reason you should get going is because I foresee danger in your hometown. So please, go right away. So Nanda Maharaj did that. And what was Nanda Maharaj's reaction upon seeing, as he and his associates entered their hometown on big bullock carts? When he saw the 18-kilometer long body of Putana, he was astonished. Is this my home? Maybe by some mystic potency I've come to the wrong place. Am I really seeing what I'm seeing? And then he entered his divine hometown, and the residents told him what had happened, how Putana had disguised herself as a most beautiful woman. The original form of Putana is what? An owl. They have owls in Australia? Yeah, that's her original form. And she can also show her form as a hideous-looking witch. But when she entered Krishna's town, she was looking like the most beautiful woman. So much so that Yashoda, Rohini, and the other elder gopis thought Lakshmi Devi herself has come to bless the child. Just like Lakshmi is attracted to Narayan, similarly Lakshmi Devi, she's looking so beautiful, this newcomer. Let her step right in. She wants to offer Krishna, little infant Krishna, or breast milk. Sure. How could this happen? It's the arrangement of Yoga Maya. Krishna wanted to have pastimes, and he also wanted to terminate this witch who had killed so many babies. Now please note, she had not killed any babies in Vrindavan, in Braj. That's not possible. But she was threatening to do so, and she had killed babies elsewhere. So this is one reason why Krishna finished her. So she enters the house, and she picks up little Krishna, the infant, on her lap. She doesn't know that she's taking on her lap death personified, as far as she as far as regarding her. What Yashoda and the other elder gopis love so much for Putana is the worst death. And so you know, as she put Krishna on her lap and offered him her breast milk to suck, Krishna closed his eyes. She couldn't really understand what she had taken on her lap. But Krishna closed his eyes because, well, there's several reasons. He was thinking, she's a woman, and according to Shastra, I shouldn't kill a woman. So I closed my eyes. Number 2 reason I closed my eyes is because she's so inauspicious. She's killed so many babies. I don't want to see such an inauspicious entity. There are other reasons also why Krishna closed his eyes. The Acharyas point out that Putana had on her breast such poison that a baby didn't even have to suck it to die. Just by the baby's touching the poison, that's it, finished. So she thought it was going to be a routine slaughter. But as we discussed, Krishna had his method of killing her, while at the same time accepting that she did approach me as mother, as a nurse. So he accomplished both purposes. He ended Putana's terrorism, while at the same time he accepted that she had some kind of maternal motive, although it was so mixed up in terror. This is why the great saints and sages say, who do you know who's more merciful than Krishna? Aho bhakiyam stanakala kutam. Buddha makes that prayer in the 3rd canto. Just see, he exclaims. Putana offers Krishna her breasts full of poison, and Krishna gives her a position in the spiritual world like that of his mother. Who can you find who is so merciful other than Krishna? Part of Krishna's mercy in dealing with Putana is that he didn't kill her in some kind of inconceivable yogic mystic power way. No, he sucked her breast. What a normal little child would do, but his sucking is incomparable. So in other words, and this is an important point, the way he killed Putana was done in such a way that is human-like, although at the same time inconceivable, how a little infant can suck and kick and squeeze with his hands that ferociously. So in this way, Mother Yashoda's Vatsalya praying, her love, maternal love for Krishna was preserved. You know how Putana reacted to her oncoming death. Leave me, child, leave me. She's flailing about. She was crying out until she was exhausted and she couldn't make any more sound. And she tried to get rid of Krishna, get him off of her. But she couldn't do that. And she wound up going outside the house with Krishna still on her chest, clinging tightly. His hands were clinging tightly to her breast, squeezing the hell out of her breast, and simultaneously pummeling her with his fists and kicking her with his little baby feet. So as you know, once Putana got outside the house, And she's in such pain, she's about to die. She revealed her demoniac form as a Rakshasi. Prabhupada, in his word for words, if you read 10th canto, you'll find he says she was a professional Rakshasi. That was her occupation. So Nanda Maharaj, upon seeing the sight of Putana's 18-kilometer-long dead body, was thinking, Vasudeva must have been some kind of fortune teller, or he must know the future, he must have some mystic power. He foresaw this. But Vasudeva is simply being an expert Kshatriya, an expert administrator warrior, and strategically he could understand the troop movement, so to speak. He could understand what was going on. But Nanda Maharaj, being a Vaishya, being Goshendra, king of the cowherds, Nanda Maharaj thought, he's got mystic power. He can foresee the future. We need a place to gather and discuss Krishna. Just like the sages at Naimisaranya, they gathered. They foresee, just like Vasudeva with his Kshatriya abilities foresaw problems in Braj. Similarly, the sages at Naimisaranya, seated before Sutta Goswami, and led by Shonaka Rishi, they see the huge problems of Kali Yuga. By reading this first chapter of Bhagavatam, you'll get a real sense of the extraordinary danger that we are in. Because society is disconnected from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I love the way Prabhupada makes the point that if you have branches and leaves disconnected from the tree, what is the use in watering such branches and leaves? Because they're disconnected from the tree. Similarly, he points out all the remedial measures that human beings today try to correct their situation must fail because the branches and leaves are cut off from the tree. You wouldn't waste your time watering a disconnected branch. Similarly, why should human society waste its time watering, trying to correct an amputated limb, a disconnected branch? As Prabhupada writes in the purport to text 4, by pouring water on the root of the tree, all the parts of the tree are automatically nourished. Only those branches and leaves which are detached cannot be so satisfied. Detached branches and leaves dry up gradually, despite all watering attempts. Similarly, human society, when it is detached from the personality of Godhead, like detached branches and leaves, is not capable of being watered. And one attempting to do so is simply wasting his energy and resources. The modern materialistic society is detached from its relation to the Supreme Lord, and all its plans, which are being made by atheistic leaders, are sure to be baffled at every step. Yet, they do not wake up to this. So this is one of the main themes of this first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, the degradation and disconnection so prominent in this age of Kali. You may want to feel that human society is making progress. You may want to think and delude yourself to think that you're living in normal times. Just a few problems here and there. A little bit of economic uncertainty. Some environmental problems that haven't been solved, but basically things are moving in the right direction. But no, you're living amidst such ignorance. And the sages at Naimisaranya could see this. They could see what's happening. With their sage powers, their sage-like vision, different, you could say, from Vasudev's Kshatriya vision, very pragmatic, practical, strategic. The sages have the Shastra, and they have their sadhu mystic vision. So they knew Kali Yuga is right upon us. So we're going to gather in Naimisaranya for 1,000 years, trying to sort out what human beings should do. We're going to sit here in this holy congregation, this holy assembly, and we're going to hear from Sutta Goswami. So this is the other theme that's so prominent in this chapter. The gathering of the saintly persons in a place that's a favorite of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and hearing from a qualified person. All these factors mean there'll be success. You want your life to be a success, but real success is not simply career success, property investment success. Real success means, real progress means moving on back to God, moving on the road back to God. Because you're going to lose everything else, but your spiritual attainment will always be with you. But people are so blinded by momentary achievements, and they're willing to just ignore the essentials. That real progress means making spiritual advancement. So the sages at Naimisaranya are going to just sit there doing a yajna for 1,000 years. They want to come upon the solution. And they know. We'll hear from Sutta Goswami because he's heard from Shukadeva Goswami. And therefore we're going to be benefited. We'll understand what to do with this impending onslaught of Kali Yuga. It's amazing how we are living in such a bewildered, degraded age, yet we think things are basically all right. Not so bad. There are some problems here and there. This first chapter of Bhagavatam helps you to penetrate the fog, pull back the veil, and you can actually see what's going on. People are willing to flourish, they hope, for a few moments. And just be content with such ignorance, such material flourishing, which can be annihilated, not simply at the end of life, but any moment it can be annihilated. I was just reading some advice from a big global nonprofit organization dedicated to banning nuclear weapons. And so they presented methodology, the procedures for starting a talk with someone about nuclear weapons. So they give you the guidelines. Make sure the person's sitting down, do some breathing beforehand. Ascertain. Think about how much you want to say before you say it. See if the person can actually handle the reality of a world with 16,000 nuclear weapons. So this is what we call progress. Seeing all this, the sages at Naimisaranya, they're approaching Sutta Goswami, and they show you the success formula in hearing about Krishna, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. They say, most importantly, Sutta Janasi Bhadram Te. All glories to you, Sutta, because you know the reason why Krishna appeared from Devaki and Vasudeva. You understand that. That's Vedanta. That is the conclusion of the Vedas. You know it. Besides that, besides your knowing, as Krishna says in the Gita, Vedaista Sarvaya Hameva Veda. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Besides understanding that, understanding Krishna, you've done the supplementary steps of studying all the Shastras. You have not only studied them by hearing, showing them, but you've also explained them, kirtana. And therefore you have realization. So we want a congregation of devotees who can hear about Krishna and explain Krishna. Then you'll have a congregation that's realized in bhakti experience. What else did the sages of Naimisaranya point out about Sutta Goswami? You have achieved the favor of your spiritual master because of your affection. Affection for the Guru doesn't mean you rub his back. It means you embrace his instructions and his mission. You have affectionately been a genuine disciple. Therefore, you can talk to us. And furthermore, you're Shrestha. You are the senior most. So by all these reasons, and then of course, you're completely free from vice. As we heard in today's verse, respected Sutta Goswami, you're completely free from all vice. So in this way, the sages of Naimisaranya are delineating, they're listing the qualifications for potent Krishna Katha. Talks about Krishna to take place. So just like here you are in a simple warehouse, but because the audience is qualified, the speaker may be qualified. There can be the potential for a transcendental experience to ignite. So this is why devotees come together. And the more we have places where devotees can come together and hear about Krishna and explain Krishna, the more you'll see the defeat of Kali Yuga. At least the defeat of Kali Yuga will be for those who take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Just like when there's a deluge of rain, for those who have good enough umbrellas, they don't get soaked. Even though for everyone else, they're getting wet. It is also possible that by bhakti, the material energy can become more favorable. Although a pure chanter of the holy name doesn't have that as the goal, but still it's possible, a shadow effect. The real chanters of Krishna's glories, of course, are aiming for pure bhakti. Still, it can't be denied, the shadow effect. So this chapter is teaching you to penetrate the fog and see what's actually going on in Kali Yuga. Massive unqualification, massive distraction, empty promises, empty hopes, putting water on a disconnected branch with its leaves and thinking things will get better. So we have to challenge this false optimism that we have. It's not so bad. Things could be worse. Even if we would live in a problem-free world, which is practically impossible in Kali Yuga, unless the whole planet becomes Krishna conscious. Even if we would think to live in a problem-free world, we have the problem of being kicked out of this body, which will disrupt all our hopes, all our plans, all our dreams. So the sages of Naimisaranya, they see all this ignorance so clearly. And by studying this first chapter, you get a feel for what's really going on. And then you see the success formula. If we have a congregation that can gather and with qualification discuss Krishna's glories, the fog of Kali Yuga, at least for the congregation, will be dissipated. And depending on the strength of the bhakti, even the material energy can reduce in its severity. I was explaining a few days ago at Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir how yes, chanting and hearing about Krishna is for the purpose of developing pure bhakti. Yenatma suprasidati. That's the only thing that will satisfy the self, as Bhagavatam teaches us. Still, I was hearing Srila Prabhupada explain that because devotees were telling him, oh, in this third world country there's this disaster, and another third world country we're preaching and there's that disaster, earthquakes, tsunamis, this, that, the other. And Prabhupada said, you tell those people in those places, if they chant Hare Krishna, become Krishna conscious, all these material miseries will go away. So that shadow effect is there, but it's not what the pure bhaktas focus on. But still, the possibility is there. So you're starting off here with a humble beginning. And it's wonderful to see how you are all coming together. Even the children are here. Everything the little children do is being noted down. They don't understand what they're doing, but just by their bowing down, just by their being present in the kirtan, it's noted for their spiritual advancement. And what to speak of the adults who can consciously, purposely engage in expanding Krishna's glories. So we're very happy that you all have this place where you can come together. And we know it's just a precursor, it's a forerunner of much greater things. And the central focus of whatever place you have, whether a warehouse or a majestic palatial temple, the central purpose is coming together and hearing about Krishna, chanting Hare Krishna. That's what brings the life. And then the more you try to reach out to others, the more Krishna consciousness will be available to you. We were explaining last Sunday, how you can begin as a Kanishta, as a third-class devotee, just thinking the deity in the temple, that is my focus. But by that kind of concentration, you become purified and you start to understand There are people suffering out there. What can I do about it? And then you enter the platform of a Madhyamadikari, second-class quality, which is a big category. So we want to see this congregation grow, and the engine, the dynamic engine of spiritual growth of the congregation is hearing about Krishna, chanting about Krishna, explaining Krishna to others, and certainly caring for one another. This is the nature of a bhakti community. Hearing, chanting, explaining, and caring. All right, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Yeah.
Thank you much for the next class. You mentioned about the sages assembled in the Naimisaranya. They were of helping people come out of the world. We have similar gathering here from every other but not necessarily the same. More ignorant.
I didn't understand the second part. We're going to have the same purpose of what? Well, that's what he's asking, that the sages of Naimisaranya gathered to devise a solution for the onslaught of Kali Yuga. So he's saying, Dvija Pitambara Prabhu is saying, we have gathered here. Okay, we're hearing about Krishna, but maybe we're not thinking so much about the welfare of others. That's why I explained how a Kanishta changes to a Madhyamadikari. Kanishta is Bhaktavad, shadow of a devotee, Prabhupada would explain. It's an auspicious beginning, but it's not the full thing. But if you go on with your focus on just the deity in the temple, which is very important, your vision expands and you become aware. There are people suffering out there. What are we going to do about it? How can we bring them into the fold so the congregation will expand? Because we're servants of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, we are expansionists. There's nothing we can do about that. It's in our DNA, our spiritual DNA. Bigger, 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 bigger. More, more, more. Krishna's unlimited. Anything else? Yes. You have to speak very loudly. Project your voice.
In the previous class, we were speaking about minimal engagement with the material energy.
He's saying in a previous class, I was speaking about minimal engagement with the material energy.
And I had this question on my mind.
He had a question on his mind. Huh?
Where to draw the line?
Where to draw the line?
What are the signs that we come to the line that we actually overstep the line?
What's the sign that we're getting too caught up in the material energy? That's why it's always good to have guidance. Bhakti is the guidance culture. So, you have your spiritual master, you have the senior Vaishnavas. The more guidance, the more wealthy you are. So the more you leave yourself open for taking advice, for guidance, the more you can handle the complexities of existing in this world. And there'll always be such complexities. So the intelligent devotee has his or her mentors. So many of the intricacies that we encounter in our existence as devotees, they're not rocket science. There's always some devotee who's seen it all before. And you can take advice. Yes?
I'm just thinking, my question is that when we take some guidance from senior devotees, roughly how many senior devotees should we take guidance from? Because they say that one that served with many masters is the servant of no master.
Mhm.
So,
If you're confused, you can always ask your spiritual master. But my point is that generally the intricacies we encounter on the bhakti path are not something that has never been seen before. Okay? But still, if you are confused or doubtful, well, this one says this, that one says that, you can always ask your spiritual master for clarification. And that way you can feel there's the buck stops somewhere. But I say that so many of the routine problems that devotees encounter can easily be solved by older devotees. They're not so complex. There's nothing new under the sun. You've been around 40, 50 years, you see just rerun movies. Just like Bhakta Prabhu, he's seen it all. Still, coupled with that, what I just said, if you have some confusion or doubt, or don't know, this one says this, that one says that, you can approach your spiritual master. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So I give you a two-dimensional answer. I don't think so many of what we call problems are anything really that complex that the old-timers can't answer it. But nevertheless, if you feel that there's some confusion in your mind, then you approach your spiritual master. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you very much for one I was just thinking of this point that you were making about.
The point that, I'm sorry, who made?
I was just thinking about the point that this previous devotee mentioned.
That in your case, she's thinking about the point, I'm repeating because not everyone over here can hear.
That if you follow many masters,
If you follow many masters, yes?
you get confused.
Mm-hmm.
It was in ISKCON, all the masters are under Srila Prabhupada.
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't help just turn back to Srila Prabhupada and this unifying principle.
So she's saying, when in doubt, because all the masters serve Prabhupada, when in doubt, turn to Prabhupada. I think what he's referring to is like, some devotee will tell him, Nikeshri, you need to work a job 9 to 5 and make lots of money, set yourself up for household life. And others say, no, just live simply, have ample time for reading and chanting, support yourself, yes, but don't get carried away. And so. Some say, Nikeshri, face it, you need to get married right now. Others will say, oh, just be careful. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. But then you go, oh, who do I listen to? You're 26? 26, oh no. Some say, now I've got to press the button. And others say, no, hold off, you're still a young man. That's what he's referring to. He's not referring to some doctrinal issue. All right. Anything else? Yes. You have to speak very loudly.
How do I develop a mood of surrender?
How do you develop a mood of surrender? By being around persons who are surrendered. And therefore, again, We have this place to give association so that persons can hear and chant about Krishna amidst surrendered souls. And in that way, newcomers will make spiritual advancement by rubbing shoulders with such surrendered souls. Bhakti is contagious, more contagious than COVID. So everything depends on who you associate with. So I wish you all the best in expanding this outpost so that it becomes a major chakra. And this is a very auspicious beginning. I really love these photos. Who designed this situation? Very stunning. So you have to start somewhere by gathering at such a place, and this is just the beginning. Everything has to start with the beginning. So it's exciting to see how you've come together and how you're going to grow. Just like parents are always excited about how their children grow, right? Oh, now she's walking, now she's talking, now he's doing this, now he's doing that. Similarly, it's much more exciting to see how the congregation of devotees grows. And you'll take pride in that. And it's rightful pride because it's what Krishna wants. You can take pride in what Krishna wants. All right. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.